Hi and welcome to Peter Ericson's opinions on OpenBSD on Vultr. Couch session. First of all, we're installing from ISO because we will be using full disk encryption. Let's verify that the OpenBSD ISO that I added earlier is valid. I'm just going to compare the MD5 in Vultr against the SHA-256 from two different mirrors. There are multiple ways to skin a cat. Yup, looks good. Let's continue. We will create a new instance selecting custom ISO instead of one of the preconfigured OS templates. Sydney. Note that Vultr have just added an OS template for OpenBSD. Nice one, but we're not going to use it this time. Enable IPv6. Click Deploy Now and wait. Now we will view the console and complete the installation using the console. We need to reload the NoVNC page whenever the instance reboots. Once the OpenBSD installation CD has boot, we select S for shell. The OpenBSD frequently asked questions has a section on configuring full disk encryption. The instance has a single disk SD0 which is 16 GB. The instructions recommend overwriting the disk with random data, which is a good idea, but we'll skip this step for the demo. Oops, I typoed this anyway. Use fdisk to initialize the disk with an empty MBR partition table. Now we use disk label to slice up our OpenBSD partition. This is a little different from how we do things in Linux. You can think of BSD slices kind of like logical partitions in LVM in Linux. We want a single slice A with FS type RAID. We will use a soft RAID discipline called crypto which requires a single disk. BIOCTL is used for configure soft RAID, including the crypto discipline. Out device is SD0A. We are prompted for a password. This password will be required every time we boot the instance. I have used pwgen command to create some random, but somewhat weak, passwords. We will use one for the disk, one for the root user and one for the unprivileged use that we will create during installation. You will want to use stronger passwords that are not embedded in a YouTube video or similar. Haha. Cool. The soft RAID kernel driver softraid 0 has now exposed a device SD1 to the running system. We need to create an entry in /dev for SD1 and then we can restart the installation. Also, the frequently asked questions recommends writing some zeros to SD1A, so let's do this. Correction. SD1C, the whole disk, just in case the random data looks crazy and confuses the installer. Finally, we'll start a normal install. The only difference is that we will install to the device SD1, which is our encrypted device, instead of SD0. Defaults are mostly fine, but let's select RT-Sol for IPv6. That way our instance will be configured to allow incoming connections on IPv6 in addition to IPv4. Enter the second generated password for the root user. We won't be running X. We will create an unprivileged user though and disable SSH logins for the root user. Use the third generated password for the PD Ericson user. Don't forget to select disk SD1, not SD0. Auto layout for the partitioning scheme is alright with me. You may prefer a larger proportion of the available space for /home though. Seeing as we have used the CD60 ISO, we will need to download the sets via HTTP. The installer will suggest a geographically close mirror. The mirror that was selected for this demo is a little on the slow side, so we'll speed up this part of the video. See you on the other side. Okay, done. We can now reboot the instance. We will perform a hard reset via the Vultr user interface. The kernel included with OpenBSD installer isn't able to power off the instance. Oops, we forgot to detach the custom ISO. Do so will hard reset the instance anyway, so we can combine these two steps. Once we see the OpenBSD login prompt via the NoVNC console, we'll be ready to SSH to the instance. But before we see the OpenBSD login prompt, we will need to enter the disk password. This will be necessary every time we reboot the instance. This isn't practical for a production system, but for a development machine I'm okay with the trade-off. What we gain is that if the instance is copied but a malicious actor, then they will not be able to access the content of the hard drive unless they unlock it with the password or brute force the password. Sweet, we have login. Let's SSH as PD Ericson using the IPv4 address. We can SSH via the IPv6 address also, which no further configuration necessary. Well, that's it. As I alluded to earlier, we now have a fairly secure system. Of course, don't take my word for this. You will need to satisfy yourself that you trust this approach. I am currently using the approach for a machine that I take notes in and organize my todo lists. Sorry, to-do lists, not todo. Thanks for watching. Throw Peter a like or subscribe to the channel if you want to see more.